So, like I said, my first point is I want us to look at earthly adoption. Let's kind of see what it looks like so that we can look at that as we compare it to God's adoption. So let's start at the basics. And I feel like the best way that we can do that is to hear from someone who has experienced earthly adoption, who has been adopted. And so I want to ask my friend, Miss Emily Jamison, to come up here. She's a junior in our movement. You can welcome her. Okay, this is Emily. So I'm not going to act like this is like spontaneous or impromptu. We've talked, we've like been through this. But basically, I want it to kind of be like you're listening in on our conversation. I have asked her these questions already, and I want you to hear her answer. I feel like this is a great starting place to understanding God's adoption. So, Emily, hi. How old were you when you were adopted?
I was a month old.
You hear that? Okay, a month old. So what is your adoption day and what does that mean?
It's October 17th, and when I was adopted, before I was adopted, I was an orphan. I lived in a foster mother's home in the foster care system, and then on my adoption day, I became a child to my male parents, so I'm no longer an orphan, and I have parents.
That's awesome. Okay, where were you adopted from?
Fredericksburg, Virginia is where I was born, and then 45 minutes away in Richmond, through an agency is where I was adopted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your adoptive parents, about their names, their ages when they adopted you, and how they met.
Okay. My parents, their names are Danny and Brenda. They're precious. They met when they were 9 and 11. My mom moved. My mom moved around the corner down the street from my dad. So they grew up as friends, and then they were high school sweethearts, got married when they were 18 and 20, and then they were on a waiting list to adopt me, or any child, but God me, for 11 years, and then they adopted me when they were 34 and 36 years old.
That's awesome. Was it costly in any way for your parents to adopt you?
Yes, in 2 ways. First, of course, is financially. They had to pay for my hospitalization during the birth and afterwards because there were complications. And then also like the flat adoption fee, which is astronomical. And then also it was costly emotionally. Like I said, they had been on a waiting list for 11 years. They had been married for 16. And so for them, their only way of life was with each other and God. Like they didn't have to devote their time to anyone else, their energy, their love, their money, nothing. They didn't, just to God and themselves. And when they adopted me, that all changed. They couldn't just go out one night and not think about a babysitter or not think about the impact it had on me. Like everything changed with them emotionally too.
Legally, did your status or your name change?
Yes. Like I said, I was no longer an orphan. I have parents now. Also, when I was in the foster care system, my foster mother called me Catherine, no last name or anything. But then the day my parents adopted me, they got on my birth certificate, put the name Emily Colvin Jamison, and then also their names were added to my birth certificate, so they are finally full.
Other than a roof, what else did your parents provide for you?
I could go on and on, obviously. From as little as to meals and clothing, to opportunities with sports and school, to a big one was guidance and discipline and rules, consequences when I didn't follow those rules. And then most importantly was the opportunity to know God. They brought me up in the church, they raised me as a Christian, and showed me what that truly meant.
So, Emily, what did you do for your parents in order to gain their love or adoption?
Nothing. I came out crying, screaming, wailing. I didn't do anything good. I didn't do anything nice.
So, why did your parents love or adopt you?
They wanted to. They didn't have to. No one told them they had to. They didn't need to, but they just chose to.
I love this topic, so if I hear it for 10 times, I'm like, yes, so good. Okay, so how has the love of your parents affected your obedience to them?
I'd say a whole lot in the fact that I simply do obey them. Growing up, I had a lot of problems with authority figures. I didn't really care to obey them. But when it came to my parents, I knew that they loved me simply because they had chosen to. They gave up their lives for me pretty much. And so because I knew they set those rules and those guidelines in place out of love, I wanted to follow them because I knew it was best for me because I knew that they loved me.
Are you in any way, Emily, like your adopting family?
Completely. I hear a lot that I look like my mom, a little, for the most part. But I hear that I'm like a spitting image of my dad. I look just like him. I act just like them. Got the same rolling eyes that my mom did. Like the same sport teams, everything. Their guts, pretty much.
She always says that, I'm their guts. I'm like, yeah. Okay, 2 more. Would your parents be hurt if you doubted their love for you?
I think so, because they've done everything every day that they could to show me their love for me just by simply adopting me. They showed me how much they love me, and if I doubted that, they'd wonder, how come she doesn't know? We did everything we could for her. We loved her every way possible. How could she not know that we do?
And lastly, how has your experience of their adopted love shaped your love for your parents? So kind of the love back to them.
I think it's caused me to love them, first and foremost, because I know that they didn't have to, which makes me want to love them even more. I'm so grateful for them, for everything they've given me and done for me and been there for me through, and so it just caused me to love them.
Thank you very much. Praise God. Praise God, that's really cool. Kind of going off of that, I have a dear friend, well, 2 friends, Kevin and Teresa O'Brien, and they have been in the process of trying to adopt a little boy for quite a while now, and it just so happens that yesterday, the O'Brien family, there's a dad, a mom, and they have their own biological sons, 2 little blonde-haired, blue-eyed cavemen. He's adorable. Just so happens that yesterday was this other little boy, Stefan, his adoption day. The day that Kevin and Teresa and Cademan, by the court of law, received their family member, their son, their brother. So here's a picture. You can tell which one is Stefan. He is the same age as Cademan. Next one. So this is literally the day that he was declared a child of the O'Briens. His name is now Stefan William O'Brien. He went from being an orphan to having a little twin who she always dresses them alike, and I think it's so cute. Anyway, went from being an orphan to being completely loved, cared for, and adopted. So that is a picture of earthly adoption. I hope that it pulls your heartstrings because it should. It's amazing, and like I said, is the clearest example that we have of God's adoption, and yet God's adoption is far better.